You learned to read the room before you could read your own heart, to scan faces for danger, to make yourself smaller, to hold your breath and hope the storm would pass. You grew up scared, and that fear never really left. It started when you were too young to understand what was happening. Maybe it was a parent whose mood swung like a pendulum, warm one moment, cold the next. Maybe it was yelling that shook the walls, silence that felt like punishment, or a hand that should have held you but didn't. You learned early that the world wasn't safe, that love was conditional, that your existence could be too much, too loud, too needy. So you became careful. You studied the adults around you like a scientist, watching their eyes, listening to the tone beneath their words, learning to predict when the air would shift. You became fluent in a language most children never have to speak, the language of survival. And somewhere in that process, you stopped being a child. You became a censor, a people pleaser, a ghost in your own life. Even now, decades later, you feel it. That low hum of anxiety that never quite goes away. The knot in your stomach when someone's tone changes. The way your body tenses when you hear footsteps approaching. Even though you're safe now, you overthink everything. Every text you send. Every word you said in that conversation 3 hours ago. You replay moments in your head, searching for the mistake you must have made, the reason someone might be upset with you. You apologize for things that aren't your fault, for existing too loudly, for needing too much, for feeling it all. An exhausting part? You don't even realize you're doing it anymore. It's just who you are, the person who makes sure everyone else is okay, the one who shrinks so others can expand, the one who carries the emotional weight of every room they enter. But underneath all of that, beneath the hypervigilance and the perfect smile, there's a part of you that's still that scared child, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Psychologists call this complex trauma, not a single event, but an environment, a childhood where safety was inconsistent, where love felt earned rather than given, where you learned that your emotional needs were a burden. Your nervous system adapted. It had to. You develop what's called hypervigilance, a state where your brain is constantly scanning for threat, even when there is none. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, became overactive. It learned to sound alarms at the smallest sign of danger, a frown, a sigh, a moment of silence. You also likely developed a fawn response, one of the lesser-known trauma responses alongside fight, flight, and freeze. Fawning means you learn to survive by pleasing others, by becoming what they needed you to be, by abandoning yourself to keep the peace. And here's what most people don't understand. This wasn't weakness. This was brilliance. Your nervous system found a way to keep you safe in an unsafe world. But the strategy that saved you as a child is now the cage that holds you as an adult. You struggle with boundaries because setting them feels like risking abandonment. You overextend yourself, saying yes when you mean no, giving until you're empty, because deep down you still believe that your worth is measured by how much you do for others. In relationships, you're hyper-aware of every shift in energy. You analyze their words, their silences, their body language, searching for signs that they're pulling away. And often, your fear of abandonment becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You cling or you distance, you test or you hide, and the connection fractures under the weight of your unspoken terror. You attract people who take more than they give, not because you want to, but because you don't know how to recognize what healthy love looks like. You mistake intensity for intimacy. You confuse being needed with being loved. And when you're alone, you're restless, anxious, because stillness means feeling, and feeling means confronting everything you've been running from. You keep yourself busy, productive, useful, because if you stop, if you sit with yourself, you might have to face the truth that you're still trying to earn a love you should have been given freely. Here's what you don't say out loud. You're tired. Tired of managing everyone else's emotions. Tired of reading between the lines. Tired of being the glue that holds everything together while you're falling apart inside. You're angry, too, though you've been taught that anger isn't safe, so you've buried it beneath layers of niceness and accommodation. You're angry at the child you had to be, at the adults who should have protected you but didn't, at yourself for still feeling this way, for not being over it by now. And beneath all of that, there's grief. Grief for the childhood you didn't get, for the version of you that might have existed if you'd been allowed to just be messy, loud, imperfect, and loved anyway. You don't talk about this, because talking about it means admitting how much it still hurts. And you spent your whole life convincing everyone, including yourself, that you're fine. But let me ask you something. What is it costing you to stay this way? How many opportunities have you passed up because you were too afraid to take up space? How many relationships have you sacrificed on the altar of keeping the peace? How much of your life have you spent trying to be small, safe, and invisible, while the truest, fullest version of you watches from the sidelines, waiting to be allowed to exist? This pattern you learned, this instinct to scan, to please, to disappear, it kept you safe once. But it's not keeping you safe anymore. It's keeping you stuck. And somewhere deep inside, you know this. You know that the fear that once protected you is now the thing that's holding you back from the life you actually want to live. So here's the truth they should have told you when you were young. You were never too much. You were just in a place that was too small. Healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means teaching your nervous system that the danger has passed, that you're allowed to relax now, that not every silence is a threat, not every shift in tone is a punishment, not every need you have is a burden. It starts with reparenting yourself, giving that scared child inside you the safety, validation, and permission they never received. It means learning to speak kindly to yourself, to comfort yourself when you're afraid, to let yourself need without shame. It means setting boundaries, not as acts of aggression, but as acts of self-love. Saying no, asking for what you need, walking away from people and situations that require you to betray yourself to belong. It means feeling your feelings, the anger, the grief, the fear, without judgment, letting them move through you instead of storing them in your body, where they harden into chronic tension, anxiety, and pain. And it means rewriting the story, recognizing that your worth isn't conditional. You don't have to earn your place in this world. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You don't have to manage everyone else's emotions to deserve peace. This journey isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Other days, you'll feel like that scared child again. And that's okay. Healing isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about learning that you can feel afraid and still be safe, that you can take up space and still be loved, that you can be imperfect and still be enough. You spent your childhood making yourself small so others could feel big. You learned to carry their moods, their anger, their silence, like it was your job to fix what was broken in them. But you're not a child anymore. And the truth is this: you were never the problem. You were never too sensitive, too needy, too much. You were a child who needed safety, consistency, and love, and you didn't get it. So you became your own protector, your own parent, your own savior. And that took extraordinary strength. But now it's time to let yourself rest, to stop scanning for danger that isn't there, to stop earning love that should be freely given. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to need. You are allowed to stop managing the emotions of everyone around you. And most of all, you are allowed to finally feel safe in your own skin. The child you were is still inside you, waiting, not to be fixed, but to be held, not to be strong, but to be loved. And maybe that's where healing truly begins. When you turn toward that child, extend your hand and say the words they've been waiting their whole life to hear. You're safe now. I've got you, and you're never going to be alone again.